You're tuned in to Live Farm Girl Fit.
It's fitness as a lifestyle.
Keep it simple. Get it done.
I know food is fuel. What I'm making at home tastes better.
Hard work yields results. The best part of Farmgirlfit is the people.
Welcome to Live Farm Girl Fit, episode 11. We're your hosts, Janessa.
And I'm Jenny, and in this episode we're going to be talking about recovery, and we're going to discuss some of the things that we do, what we've experienced, and when you're working out or just getting started working out, some things that you should think about to prevent injury as well as recover safely.
Yeah, so we kind of want to start by setting the stage of why it's important to recover, why you should even care about it at all. And a few reasons, really. When our bodies are more fresh, relaxed, restored, we're able to ask more of them. They're more capable. Pretty amazing, really, the things that the human body can do if you allow it to kind of grow. And you may have noticed this. I mean, if you're working out currently, if you take a couple days off, maybe a week's too long, but maybe you take a few days off, that first day back, you feel like, wow, I could rock this. Where'd that power come from?
Right. And a lot of times people notice, especially when they get started with a workout program, that they notice their body is changing in different ways. Yeah. And that is really taxing your body in a way that is new to your body. And so you really have to notice that these changes, yes, they're good and benefit overall to your health, but you can also notice that you have to maintain it. And to maintain your exercise program, you really need to think about recovering. And so I think a lot of people don't necessarily give that much thought. And we see it every day. Someone gets done with their workout and they just hit the door and we're like, wait, you need to do some things to finish your workout.
Right.
To cool down.
Yeah, to complete it all the way. And really, especially if you're kind of new to a style of training, you are asking a lot of your body. It is changing. And there is a natural recovery process that the body goes through. Like a lot of times when you feel sore, you've created little tears in your muscles, and that's what helps them grow faster and kind of build that tissue. But you want to make sure that you're giving yourself enough time and you're not coming back to it too soon, or just letting all that stuff build up, and then you feel tight and sore and tired.
Right. So just like you have to recognize that when you're sore and take time off, which we're going to talk about some ways that we can restore and to recover, but you also have to realize that you can't just hold still.
Yeah.
So making sure that you don't just, I'm sore, I'm just going to lay down, or I'm going to sit all day at my job or whatever. There's really something to not doing that and to making sure you're doing a little bit of light activity to flush everything out. But
yeah, bodies were meant to move, so keep them moving.
And as we notice as we get older, that things go a little bit slower sometimes, as far as, especially with recovering.
Absolutely.
So I think a lot of the ladies that we train in here, we're all about training smarter, not harder necessarily. Right. So being really efficient and also recognizing when they need to take a little step back.
Yeah. So let's, and I guess the other thing we want to get across is that we're sort of speaking to, we train every style of woman in here. People that are really kind of training hard and maybe competing, or athletes who have come from another sport. They're used to sort of a very high level of exercise. And on the flip side, people who are really just trying to increase their activity level, live a good and healthy life, be more capable, be more able to tackle daily life. And recovery is important for both groups. So as we go through this, keep that in mind, that there are things that if you are training at a very, very high level, recovery is crucial. Really to prevent injury and to stay on top of it. But really, if you're just trying to increase your exercise and be active and be healthier, there's a lot of benefit. And you do need recovery too. It may not be as crucial, or you may not get into as many of the, I don't know if you want to call it intense, but certain aspects of it, but it is very beneficial all around.
Right, and I think especially with females, it's kind of interesting because I feel like we're natural caretakers and all of this, and we always say leave time for yourself, but it's funny because I feel like a lot of women in here are very in tune with their bodies, as far as oh, I feel this, or I feel this, or like if a doctor was asking you something, you're like, this is exactly what my symptoms are. Like, is it, like if I ask my husband, is it a dull pain, or is it a sharp pain, or is it, he's like, I don't know, it's pain. But like women are able to say like, this is the specific area, this is what I feel, this is what I heard, this is the sensation. But then at the same time, so it's like they're very hypersensitive to their body, but at the same time, they're able to ignore it.
Yeah.
They're able to divert their attentions elsewhere to other people. And so it's interesting because you hear it all the time how specific women can get about different pain or discomfort, but yet, okay, so what did you do about it?
Yeah.
Or like, how did you address it? And a lot of times I feel like it's easy to ignore those twinges or tweaks and just go along with your day.
Yeah.
So I feel like when you do feel those things,
listen to them.
It's very important to, that's the first step, is to just notice that your body's trying to tell you something.
Yeah, and that you need to listen to it.
Right.
So I think the first thing that we want to talk about is that our goal is to establish a consistent routine. So whether you're training really elite or whatever you want to call it, training really hard, or you're trying to just increase your overall activity level, regardless, you're trying to establish a consistent routine. So part of that is when you come into a workout, you're not coming in with the mentality that I'm going to give myself the hardest workout I've ever had in this 1 hour or whatever. You're trying to give yourself overall increase your activity level from one day to the next, but that's more about finding balance. And yes, you're going to push yourself, and yes, you're going to work hard, but you're also going to give yourself the rest and maybe, especially if you're new to a style of training, your first couple weeks, you almost want to leave feeling like, I think I could have given a little bit more, rather than like, oh my gosh, I literally can barely walk out of here, because when you're new to it, it takes your body longer to recover from it. And so you're just going to set yourself up to be a lot more sore.
Yeah, and every time you come in thereafter, you're going to feel that sensation of like, oh my gosh, this is going to be painful, or this is going to hurt, instead of being acclimated or sort of giving yourself time to adjust. And it's funny that you mentioned athletes or people training for a specific competition or event. When they come in here, they say, I have a background in collegiate athletics, and this is what I do currently, and blah, blah. That's my red flag. Is I'm like, we're gonna start over, because those people are easy they find it easier to push themselves to a higher threshold to sort of make those sore muscles or full body soreness, rather than someone maybe that's just starting out that might give themselves a little bit of a break. But it's all about having a consistent routine depending on what style of training that you're doing, that you give yourself that adjustment period.
Yeah, and it might seem a little bit counterintuitive, but we mentioned it earlier that if you are feeling a little bit sore, you really shouldn't stop moving. You want to keep moving, lighten the intensity, but so that's part of that consistent routine, is you're moving more often, not necessarily like harder and less often. And I'm not sure that kind of makes sense, but we see it all the time with the way we structure our membership, so that when people have options of how often they come. And a lot of people, when they're newer, think I can't do any more than 2 days a week. This is brand new to me. It's going to be really hard. It's going to be really challenging. There's no way I can do it any more than 2 days a week. And on the contrary, you should be trying to get your more activity in more often. And I often tell people it's really better to start with 3 or 4 days and just don't go as hard those days that you come in, and find that routine.
Or if they are going to start with 2 days a week, then they better be doing other things outside of just coming to the gym, like going for long walks or jogs or whatever. So it's something that we give you that sort of autonomy, like, okay, if you're going to sign up for 2 days a week, if you came on Monday and then you didn't come again until Friday or Saturday, that's a possibility that you're always going to be starting over, always going to be sore. And so you better be doing something in between there, or just start with the 3 days or 4 days. So I also think of it as, like, I've told people, like, okay, it's like a 100% day, or it's a 75% day based on what you're doing. And sometimes it's a I came, I sweat, I showed up day, and that's totally fine. And I think especially with this style of training, people can get caught up in that and not allow themselves to have a 50% day or a 75% day. But again, how we structure sort of our programming and stuff, that's definitely doable. So guess it just depends on what you're up to. But
Yeah, so in general, we would say try to shoot for 5 to 6 days a week of some level of activity, and give yourself a day or two of rest. And some level of activity might be a walk, it might be light swimming, it might be an easy bike ride, it might be playing with the kids at the park, but certain amount of activity. So it doesn't always have to be intense, but you're still moving. Stay moving, that's the big one.
And if you are somebody that is required or sort of sitting all day, I would say every hour on the hour you're up, you're stretching, you're moving. If you can, go outside, walk around the block. I mean, do those things that keep your body moving. Because I know when I've been really sore and I had to sit down at a computer and just getting up, you're just like, this is not right. Like, you should never try to get yourself in that position where you just feel like totally uncomfortable, or that it's going to take you a lot of time to get the blood flow or to be able to move.
Like pry your legs up.
I actually talked to have a little experience to share a little bit later on, but I talked to another coach, and she was saying that she actually specifically trains only women over 45.
Oh, really?
And she teaches them weightlifting, and she has actually sent people home from her gym. Like, she physically said, you know what, I can tell by your body language, I can tell by this workout that we're going to be doing that it's not right for you and you need to go home. And the lady was really upset, and she actually quit her membership. But the coach was like, she said that was okay. She wasn't letting herself realize that her recovery was as valuable as her training. And I sort of was like, oh, okay, well, that's kind of gutsy to do that. But it put a lot of value to all the other people in her classes that she was serious about the recovery and that she wasn't going to allow people to get injured in her classes. So pretty interesting.
That is very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so first one, find your consistent routine, find that consistent schedule. And then the second one is about diet, your nutrition and what you're eating. And we've talked about how to eat on a few different episodes, but food is fuel. I mean, it just is. It's what you're using to power your body.
Right, and it's actually really important for recovery, not just fueling your workouts. So we talk about food is fuel. It's fueling you. It's making you more energetic. It's allowing you to do all these things. But it's also reparative. The way that you eat is really important to how you're feeling and how your body's reacting to the strenuous exercise that you're doing. So don't just think of food as allowing you to do these things. Think of it as actually reparative and helping you to maintain.
So a big part of that is finding your balanced diet, right? I mean, we talk about eating clean proteins and lots of vegetables, and there is, for energy level, a certain amount of carbohydrates. I mean, carbs have kind of in the last couple of years gotten this totally bad rap, like everybody's cutting out carbs, and it depends on the kind of carb, right?
I feel like there should be a new name or a different name
seriously.
for like what we're talking about. We're not talking about like
white
donuts.
Flour, donuts and cookies and baked goods.
Right, that's what a lot of people think when you say carb. Right.
But things that we're talking about are things that still come naturally from the earth. So starchy vegetables like sweet potatoes are a big one. Squashes are good too. Even regular potatoes are good as well. Certain grains, rice, quinoa, those kinds of things are good carbohydrates that, as part of your balanced diet are going to give you energy and also help restore too. So having those right after a workout is really beneficial.
They say there's that half-hour time period after your workout, and I don't want to get too far into that, but there's definitely more studies associated with that or talking about that. But
about the timing of that.
Right.
The other really big one is to stay hydrated. And I think it seems like more women that I talk to, we're terrible about drinking water. And I'm one, I always have my water bottle with me. And people are like, don't you drink lots of water? You're really good about it. I always see you with the water bottle. I always have it with me, and it's always full because I'm never drinking it.
That water bottle has actually saved me. And my 1-year-old has gotten a hold of it, and it's like his favorite toy, and I haven't had it for the last week, and I honestly feel a difference. Like, I just chugged some water just now, and I'm like, ugh, like, man, I wish I had my water bottle. But honestly, our food is fuel focus that we just did, we always, I was like week 2, right? Or
week 1?
We got 1. It was like, always have your water bottle with you, have it within arm's reach. And that was amazing that week. Because it just felt so much better. But
and your cells just have to be hydrated in order to rebuild, and that it helps with wrinkles, and it helps with like puffiness and everything and energy level. It's really good.
And then the next one is my nemesis. Just kidding. Sleep. It's definitely so much more important than we've ever thought it was. There's a lot of things coming out right now. Everybody needs 8 hours of sleep, and how important sleep is. And I think in specific, like in my life right now, it's all about routine. You got little ones. You have other people to put to bed. That is such a well, it's how you're going to get to sleep. If they're not sleeping, you're not sleeping. So definitely setting up a routine. And I am such a firm believer in essential oils. For like lavender, we got like bath, bottle, book, bed. I mean, it's just like you have to do it and do it for yourself. So just the same as you do for your kids. I think definitely make yourself a routine to sort of wind down the day and get into that good space where you can sleep well.
Yeah, and one of the big things about this is, I know I'm really, really guilty of it, is not looking at your phone late at night, especially that white light on your phone or computer or TV. And it seems like for me, it's like the moment right before I go to bed when I'm like, got to catch up on social media from the day because I've been running around and haven't looked, but who cares, really? I mean, honestly.
It'll be there in the morning.
And the morning's a better time to look at it. There's something about the white light, and again, lots more research on this too, but it affects your eyes and your melatonin levels and just being able to relax and get to sleep. So no more cell phones in bed.
No. Or TV. Like what we watch, like one night a week, we watch TV before bed. Like the show's on, we watch it, whatever. And I notice a difference. My mind is still running, it's racing. I like want to get up and make a list. Like I do notice a difference. So avoid the TV. And I thought it was interesting. We made a note here that is going to devastate a lot of moms, but naps don't count. But it's true. It's really that extended period of time at night where your brain is going through these different cycles, and all of that is so important for your body and that recovery time. But I also made a note here that sleep is not a luxury, it's a necessity. And that's what everybody's saying right now. Everybody in athletics or the fitness world, everybody's saying the same thing. It's more so about the recovery and the ability to sleep. It's really making a difference.
And sleep when it's hard to, like if you work a swing shift or something, but where you kind of are working overnight, but there's really something, just prehistoric in our genes that you sleep when it's dark, and that's part of why we say, stay away from the naps in the middle of the afternoon. You're not getting the same benefit of it.
And one other thing I wanted to mention that my husband has actually been doing, because they're finding that if you're even remotely or marginally deficient in magnesium, it can not allow your brain to wind down, and it keeps going and going and going. And so, talk to your doctor or your health professional, but supplementing with a little bit of magnesium right before bed has been shown to really help wind everything down and allow you to sleep faster.
Somebody actually recommended me to take that for a little while. There's one called Calm, and
that's one he takes,
and it's just like a stir, and I did notice a big difference, but then I don't know why I quit doing it. I think I ran through the canister and didn't want to go get another one.
Yeah, and there can be, if you're taking too much, there can be some health problems with that. But
so definitely check before.
But and some other things you can get magnesium is leafy greens, pumpkin seeds, and almonds. So you can do it the natural way. But definitely try to get some good sleep. All right, we're back. We had a little technical difficulty there. Had a big storm come through. You may have heard some of the thunder, so we had to pause there. But the next thing that we wanted to talk about is mobility. And what we mean by that is kind of stretching, rolling, smashing, which I don't really like that term, but it means basically kind of intense rolling. But so we have a few things, but kind of the reasoning here is we tend to be a very sitting society, and when you're sitting, you're kind of shortening everything up, shortening those muscles, and especially for our style of training, we really focus on full body movements, but usually that means kind of working towards that end range of motion of what some of your muscles might have, and when you're getting towards that end range, that's where you might be getting in trouble for injury or whatever. So we want to kind of lengthen that end range of motion, increase that range of motion, so that when we're doing things in our daily life, it's not to that end point, it's somewhere less than that. And if you've ever used a foam roller or a tiger tail or any of those things, you know where you need to be sitting. So you can feel it. So if you're rolling out and you find that spot where it hurts so good, don't just go over it and over it. You actually need to sit there for a minute and continue around it, and sit there for a minute and continue around it. So it's not just that you roll up and down your back a few times and then hit the road. There's actually a lot more detail you can get into getting to those trigger points, or those points that feel really hot, I guess you'd say. But a really great book that we love is A Supple Leopard, and we talk about it's by Kelly Starrett, and he's like the guru of this sort of mobility and getting in there and really recognizing when you need to do these things. The couch stretch is the one that he's really known for, and we do that a lot here. But a couple things that I wanted to just mention when you're doing those things is I just had this experience in Austin with Brian MacKenzie, and they're like hand in hand. They're doing everything together. But he was saying that get in the position, and if you can't, squeeze your cheek, and you can't breathe, then you shouldn't necessarily be in that position. Yeah. So a lot of times we'll think, oh, I got to do this mobility pose, or I have to do this and hold my breath, and actually you need to breathe through these things. Yeah. So it's not just about getting into a position and like you were mentioning, that you need to be in a position for at least 2 minutes to feel the benefits of a stretch, sort of one of those static stretches. But being able to breathe, if you can't breathe through a mobility exercise or a stretch, then you probably need to decrease your
a little bit.
Range of motion
and don't force anything either. Don't push that too far, and especially with things like the couch stretch, because you're sort of stretching so many different areas at the same time, there's a tendency that if one of those is really tight, you might be collapsing somewhere else, and so you're almost doing yourself a disservice. So kind of look that up, but just be really mindful whenever you're doing any of those static stretches that you're still maintaining good body posture.
Positioning is key,
and being able to breathe. That's a big one. If you have to hold your breath, that's
you're not getting the
you're cutting off the oxygen there. And so a couple other things. We mentioned the foam roller. We use lacrosse balls a lot in here. So sometimes foam rollers are a great, like, just general tool to have around. But sometimes if you have a really tight knot, they don't get in there quite as deeply. So we found lacrosse balls to be really beneficial. They're about the size of a tennis ball and just a little bit
and hard.
Yeah, a little bit more firm, so they can get into some of that deep tissue.
And yoga, of course. Yeah. We honestly, a lot of people, yoga is a great exercise for, fitness and to get to some goals that you're trying to do and get a good sweat and all of that. But I really feel like yoga is a really good complement to the style of training. And not just saying that you have to go in there, because a lot of like power yoga and a lot of some of these different types of yoga can be very strenuous and leave you sore in itself. Right. But I'm saying using yoga as more of restorative yoga. We have a couple studios locally that I think are a little bit unique in that it's a hot studio, or studios kept at 100 plus, or I think it's 108 or something like that, depending on what kind of class it is. But that's, you can do a flow, or you can do what's called a yin yoga. There's a lot of different types of yoga at different studios that aren't just for workout purposes necessarily. So definitely look into finding one of those, because I've experienced that, and I'm like, you're holding the pose for a long period of time, and you really have to shut your brain off, and you really have to like visualize what's happening in order to stay in it. But most likely, if you're the type of person, we've said this before, that doesn't see, you can't see yourself sitting in a position for that long, then you need it the most. And same with mobility. If you find mobility to be, I don't have time for it or whatever, if you don't give value to it, then most likely you need it the most. So I'm talking to a lot of you Farmgirlfit girls, but seriously, if it's something that you don't incorporate and you do feel sore consistently or constantly, then obviously you need more yoga in your life.
Yeah, and if you're fairly new to yoga, I mean, reach out to a couple studios. Most of them are really happy to help you and sort of guide you to the classes, because a lot of it can be confusing, and just say that you're really new to it and you're looking for it to be sort of a more restorative source. I mean, the other thing is, when you're sore, keep moving. I mean, that's the biggest thing, so even like sitting, try to get a standing desk where you can just stand up for a little while and do 10 jumping jacks and then come back, but try to keep moving. Don't just let that soreness soak in.
So there's a lot of there's other tools. Obviously we love a good massage. I think that every mother should do at least one spa day a month, or every 2 weeks or so, and use that spa day as restoration, but, you know, ask for a deep tissue massage or, you know, a sport massage. And not just, you know, a Swedish massage where it's like tickle fest.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, like, use it, you know, get a pedicure and manicure afterwards, but use that massage time, your spa day, to, you know, make your body better.
Yeah. And look into, I mean, a lot of insurances now, I think a lot more than used to, are covering a certain number of massages. And maybe it's only 12 a year, so but that gets you one a month. And yeah, do use them. And other sort of, you know, of course, physical therapists, but chiropractic is another one that is just keeping you all aligned that we really believe in. And you just had a really big trip to Austin.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that, or was there?
Yeah, no, I have a lot to say. Well, I have some tips to say, but I went to Austin, Texas for a breathing and performance sort of seminar with MacKenzie, and then the second day was about heat and ice and how you can use that to recover and a lot of different things. But as far as I actually took a lot from it.
Yeah.
So just talking about the second day, not the first day, I think that it's definitely mind over matter. As far as when you talk to somebody about you need an ice bath or yeah, it's like I even got like I started like hyperventilate a little bit, and I'm like, okay, just relax. But honestly, knowing the breathing techniques. So if you haven't already, you know, we've talked about Wim Hof a little bit, but you have to know the breathing techniques. I think that helps a lot. But the cold is something that I think people are sort of scared of because everybody likes to be warm. Everybody likes to be warm and cozy and get a massage and all that we just talked about. But honestly, the cold, and specifically water immersion or cold immersion, is what gets into the deep tissues. And it's not just everybody knows like, oh, you know, it's going to help with my soreness. What happens is that inflammation, you're helping with that inflammation because everything's constricting your vessels, vasodilate, or constriction, so everything's going together, and then that's going to help with the inflation. But when you start warming up and everything starts to dilate, that's what's flushing all the bad stuff, the metabolic debris, and like that's where you're also getting the benefit. So that's why he was talking more just not about ice, you know, and cold submersion, but heat and ice together
in combination.
So so instead of, if you look at any, you know, true like ultramarathoner or any sort of athlete, very rarely will you find somebody that doesn't do ice baths.
Really?
I really think that, like, if you look, it's not sustainable. A sport, something that's taxing your body in a very specific way over and over and over, they're going to be doing this. And there's not one protocol for one person. I feel like everybody needs to feel this and experience it for themselves. But I'm going to share just specifically some things that we did. So we had the cold tubs, the ice tubs, and you want typically between 50 and 59 degrees. So I know, throw in a couple bags of ice, you're good. But you don't need to necessarily be testing the temperature every 5 minutes. But what we did was we would get in the ice and for 3 minutes. So you're doing the breathing and you're in there, and I honestly will tell you the first minute, the very first time I got in, I haven't done this in a long time. I used to do it a little bit here and there, but got in, started to just like, oh, it's too cold, but then all of a sudden it just switches. Like, honestly, a switch goes off, you're okay with it, you get happy. Like, honestly, it starts feeling good. And so 3 minutes in, you get out, and they actually had a sauna, steam room sauna. Nice. So you get into the steam room, reacclimate, let everything flush, like get nice and warm, and then get back in for another minute. And we repeated this for about 2 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Like, it was interesting. And I just, like, my whole body was just like, yes, like, thank you, yes. And we hadn't done a lot of like really hard exercise the day before, or like lifting and stuff like that. We were using like a training mass and mostly focusing on the breathing techniques and things like that. But honestly, the week previous to that weekend, I had gone pretty hard, and it really, really made a difference. So coming to a gym near you, we're going to be testing some of these things out and doing some ice baths. But I have specifically a few tips, if you don't mind,
go for
on
it.
how I really feel like this could be successful, specifically for women. So
I'm really interested in this.
Okay. So the first thing I think you need to do is commit, buy the tub. And honestly, you can buy one of these at a farm supply store. You can get the galvanized ones or the big Rubbermaid ones. You want at least over 100 gallon. There's like, they come in like 85, 100, 140 or something. But So I think you could make it fun. So you could have a small group over. I think we're going to have, after maybe our Saturday workouts, where we have lots of people, we'll do that. But make it a small group thing. I think if you're isolated,
I'm not doing it.
so hard. Even if you have one other person, and you're going to get in together. So there's going to be one person on each side. I think that's huge. So you're in it together. You got a buddy in there with you. So have a small group. Maybe have a barbecue. Everybody BYOI. Bring your own bag of ice or something. But honestly, make it a thing. And that's what these people are going to be doing in Austin. Carrie Kepler and her husband. They were lovely hosts, but that's why they bought their equipment. They're going to be having people over and having barbecues and doing these heat and ice. But anyways, so have a small group, maybe have some wine or something afterwards, but make it an event. And then I think the next thing is to be outside. So I think with me personally, I can't be in my bathroom.
Yeah.
I honestly, first of all, you're by yourself, and then it's just you're inside. So I really feel like being outside, number one, you sort of have this connection with maybe this is just me talking, but it's kind of primal. You feel like you're going to heal yourself and you're outside and it's okay. And also the sun, have a sunny spot, because even if the sun is on your hand or your face or the back of your neck or something, you feel like there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
You're not going to be cold forever. There's a heat source available to you that you can just get out and warm back up, and it's going to be relatively easy. So you don't feel necessarily you're on top of Antarctica, you're on Everest and there's no way down except for it's going to be cold. So anyway, so be outside. Find a sunny spot and know that you're in this as a healing thing. It's not just a torture device, right? It's going to be doing a lot of benefit for you. So
I bet that mental state is really
for sure. It's mind over matter. And honestly, I'm sort of a science geek. I feel like I was visualizing this at a cellular level, what was happening in my body. I'm okay, so this is everything's tightening up, all the inflammation is going down. Then when I get out, I'm visualizing everything expanding and flushing and all the bad stuff coming out. So whatever it takes for you, I think it's definitely mind over matter for that first minute or so. If you really are in it and put value to it and find an intention for it, it's going to be a lot easier than if you're sitting there going God, this lady's making me sit in this ice. This is so stupid. Honestly, if you can't wrap your head around it, it's not going to work for you. And Brian MacKenzie talked about your ice ego. He's had people, I'm going to sit in here for 10 minutes. And it's really not healthy to do that either. So it's really about intervals of heat and warming, ice and warming and ice and warming. So that protocol of 3 minutes in has been shown to be really beneficial for a lot of different body types, and then warming back up, and make sure you're completely warm back up. There's no more goosebumps. It's you're really warm back up, and you'll be surprised at how fast that happens.
Yeah. And
and then get back in for a shorter interval, a minute or something, and then warm back up, and then you can repeat. But so giving it value and finding an intention for it and really wrapping your head around it, I think, is the most important part. And again, if you're not able to breathe during it, then you probably shouldn't be doing it. So a lot of the breathing techniques, the really deep belly breathing, is what's going to help sort of calm your mind as well. So I'm not talking about this chest breathing. Exactly. That's kind of the first 10 seconds. But really, if you can find those big, deep breaths, that's going to help maintain your core temperature a little bit, as far as if you're
well, probably help relax you too, so your muscles aren't just
really, I was really surprised at how relaxed I was in there, because I really did. I was there for it. I flew to Austin, Texas to do this, so maybe that's why I was so okay with it too. But honestly, I could imagine it's something that I really want to do and maintain and keep up with and share with everybody. So we'll definitely be doing it. But and two little last tips I have that worked for me was I kept my hands out. So I don't know, because the time I put my hands in, I was nope. For whatever reasons, my hands were really sensitive, maybe to heat and ice or whatever. But I would suggest to, submerge yourself as deep as you can go. I think we're up to past our chest. But definitely the hands thing was a big thing.
Yeah.
So
well, probably if you're trying it for the first couple times too.
Yeah. And it just made a huge difference to keep my hands out.
Yeah.
And then don't move. So there's a big difference between like some of these people will jump into lakes and streams and things like that, and that's fine. The water's moving; it's more intense. It's gonna feel colder than if you're just completely still. So just don't move. Make
it's almost
eye contact.
counterintuitive, I think, because I would think like if you move, you're like keeping
like
your activity level or something.
No, it's like think of like a sloth. You're just like moving very slow if you're moving at all, and then you're just making eye contact with that person across from you and being like, you got this, I got this, and it's very interesting, and I think that it's very doable. People don't think they can do it, but once you take some of these steps and make it to where it's, you kind of set everything up. It's outside, you have friends over, you're all gonna do it, and it's part of your health and your restoration, then I think it's a lot more doable than just saying, oh, I'm gonna go take an ice bath in my bathroom now by myself.
I was gonna say I'm gonna need a good buddy to do that.
Yeah. So we'll be doing some of this. We got some big events coming up in our community, and I feel like we should reward them with some ice tubs afterwards. So
you're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank me now.
Very cool.
So that was my sort of experience with that, and
awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think that about wraps it up for this episode too. So if you have had some experience with the ice baths, or you have any other tips to add to it, or if you're a farm girl and interested in doing it.
Oh, you know what we should do? We should do a hashtag self-freeze.
Okay.
Self-freeze.
Instead of selfie, I get it. Took me a minute.
Instead of selfie, self-freeze. No, anyways, share with us on Instagram. Follow us at Farmgirlfit. But maybe tag us at Farmgirlfit, and if you're gonna take an ice bath or do some sort of icing, maybe use the hashtag self-freeze.
Not those like smearing off ice things that was going around a while back. Not that icing.
No,
that's not what we're talking about.
Those are gross.
So follow us on Facebook and Instagram at FarmGirlFit. Use our regular hashtag, which is LiveFarmGirlFit, and this new one, Self-Freeze, to show us what you're up to. Of course, please subscribe on YouTube and iTunes. And on the last episode, we announced our big winners. We gave away 2 big prize packs, one to the YouTube subscriber and one to an iTunes subscriber. And Christina in Seattle, you are our iTunes winner. Please get in touch with us, because you have a pretty awesome prize coming.
It's a great prize package.
We need some sizing information and stuff from you. So please reach out to us. You can either comment on YouTube, on Facebook, or email us at info@farmgirlfit.com, and we can get that squared away with you. And I think that's it. If you could leave us a review on iTunes, we'd appreciate that as well. And
stay cool.
Yeah. See you next time.
Bye.